My name is Rebecca Kanonitz, and today I'll be presenting my developmental psychology theories and concepts midterm project. Specifically, I will be going over Linklater's movie Boyhood, which follows the life of a young boy, Mason, from childhood to adulthood, and specifically going over how his life aligns with key psychological concepts and theories. A presentation overview. We're going to be going over the biological stages of development, Erikson's psychosocial stages, Freud's psychosexual stages, and the id, ego, and superego, Piaget's cognitive developmental stages, Vygotsky's social cultural theory, Bandura's social learning theory, and Kohlberg's stages of moral development. So, biological stages of development. Um, these are the key stages in Mason's life cycle. Basically, Mason's physical and neurological development throughout the film closely mirrors real life biological milestones. Specifically, in early childhood, around ages 6 to 9, we see Mason riding his bike and staring out car windows. He's pretty immersed in sensory experiences. These activities reflect typical growth in motor coordination and spatial awareness. Now, during from ages 10 to 12, he transitioned into middle school and he becomes leaner, more confident, and socially interactive. In school scenes, Mason shows better focus and engages in peer conversations more naturally, suggesting that his brain functions are maturing and he's improving his function. Now, from ages 13 to 18, which is called adolescence, we see major changes. His voice deepens, acne appears, his posture and demeanor shifts. Um, Specifically, a powerful moment in the movie occurs when he looks at himself in the mirror, showing not just physical growth but self-conscious reflection. His philosophical discussions with friends also highlight the development of the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning and planning. And it happens very often during the film where he develops these theories and concepts in his brain that just reflect how he's growing and maturing. These are some of the milestones I spoke about. Um, basically, the first picture is him riding a bike. The second picture is him engaging in learning during school. The third picture is him kind of going through these changes in his family and relationships. And then the fourth picture is just an overall view of how he's changed throughout the film. Erikson's psychosocial stages. Erikson's stages are illustrated in Mason's physiological growth, first in the industry versus inferiority stage, where Mason is challenged by school demands. One scene in particular shows him getting feedback from a teacher. He is uncertain but tries to respond positively, demonstrating his struggle to feel competent. Um, Later, during identity versus role confusion, specifically ages 12 to 18, Mason explores various aspects of who he is. He changes his hairstyle, becomes interested in photography, and questions societal norms and expectations. Like when adults tell him to get serious, his resistance kind of shows that he's not conforming to a sense of self, but seeking a sense of self. By the end of the film, we enter intimacy versus isolation stage, where Mason connects meaningful conversations and connections with college friends while hiking. Their deep conversation hints that Mason is learning to form intimate bonds rooted in vulnerability and shared values. Specifically here in these two pictures, we see the ending of the scene at the end of the movie where he meets this girl and he's with his new college friends and they're out hiking and he's just kind of viewing the world from a new perspective. The other image is when he gets into photography. He's obviously a bit older, but he's still kind of finding himself and trying to find his unique aspects. Freud's psychosexual stages and personality structure. So Freud's theories show up most clearly in Mason's social and emotional behaviors. In the latency stages, around 6 to 12, he's less focused on sexuality and more on learning, playing video games, riding bikes, and making friends. During the genital stage in adolescence, he begins romantic relationships. Um, there's a complicated relationship with a girlfriend, which reflects emerging sexual identity and emotional maturity. In the id, ego, and superego stages, um, Mason's id comes out when he impulsively yells at his mom or resists waking up early. His ego is active when he debates with his dad, when he's trying to set his boundaries and rules. And his superego becomes reflective in his monologues, where he questions what's right or meaningful in life, specifically when he was discussing if social media was just fake and a way of getting out of real life. Um, and here are some pictures where Mason is hanging out with friends and with his girlfriend, and it just demonstrates different stages of his life where these theories apply to. Piaget's cognitive developmental stages. So Mason's thinking evolves alongside Piaget's stages. Specifically in the concrete operational stages, ages 7 to 11, he starts to understand fairness and consequences. For example, he shows guilt when caught lying about homework. By his teen years, he enters the formal operational stage where abstract and philosophical thoughts emerge. One moment is when he's talking to his girlfriend about time and consciousness. The shift from what do I have to do to why do we even do anything? His like philosophical questions marks the development of abstract reasoning and hypothetical reasoning, which is very important during these cognitive developmental stages. And here are some pictures. This is the conversation he's having with his girlfriend where he's discussing his philosophical views. And the other picture is him when his teacher gives him a life lesson. Like he explains to him how things are in real life. And Mason's kind of understanding. And I think he takes into account that what his teacher is saying is for his benefit. And he's kind of understanding that he needs to evolve. Vygotsky's social cultural theory. Mason's development is shaped by the people around him, especially his parents. According to Vygotsky, the zone of proximal development is where learning happens through support. Mason's mom scaffolds his learning by helping with homework and giving emotional advice. His dad offers less traditional but equally valuable guidance, like when they bond over music or talk about life, or when they go hiking or camping. These moments show how Mason absorbs knowledge and emotional tools through social interaction, specifically through his parents in this case, gradually becoming more independent as the scaffolding is removed as he progresses in life. And here's a moment between him and his dad when they're out camping and they're just talking about life. And I think this is very important I think this theory applies to Mason's understanding of life and his growth, because the relationship difference between his parents, his mom being more um, involved in his life and there for him in every aspect while his father is not. I think that truly shaped who he was during this film. Bandura's social learning theory. Mason often learns by watching those around him. With his father, he imitates humor, musical taste, and attitude toward life. These moments reflect Bender's modeling concept. He also learns what not to become. One of the most painful scenes is the family dinner with his abusive stepfather. Mason absorbs the toxicity, but instead of replicating it, he consciously chooses to remain calm, demonstrating his learning. His role models are photographers, artists, and even professors, which evidently shape the adult he becomes later on in the movie. I'm going to show a clip of the scene of where he's not replicating his stepfather's attitude or actions.
I'm having a drink with my dinner. Anybody else have a problem with that? Samantha?
No.
Andy?
No.
I didn't think so. You don't like me much, do you, Mason? It's okay, I don't like me either. I think that's funny, huh? I think that's funny. What's the matter? You feeling left out? Clean it up. I hate squash.
So basically, in that point of the movie, it kind of shows how observational learning is very important for kids. Mason picks up behavior, speech patterns, just by watching those around him. But however, he's able to reject other behaviors and speech patterns, like how he rejected his stepfather's attitude. And later on in the film as well, he has another stepdad that has the same drinking problem, but instead of replicating those behaviors, he instead chooses to be calm and remain at peace. Kohlberg's stages of moral development. In early childhood, Mason's morality is pre-conventional. He follows rules mainly to avoid getting in trouble, like when he cleans his room only after being yelled at, or when his stepdad yelled at him, or when he didn't want to be yelled at by his stepdad, so he cleaned out the garden. As he grows older, he enters the conventional stage, doing what's expected to fit in or avoid conflict. For example, he stays quiet during tense family moments, even when he disagrees. By the time he reaches college, Mason seems to adopt post-conventional moral reasoning. He questions societal norms and develops his own ethical beliefs. His final conversations show that he now evaluates right and wrong based on his own values rather than external values or expectations. All of these observations are from real psychological theories. I've included references in APA format from theorists like Freud, Erikson, Piaget, Vygotsky, and more, as well as the film. I watched Boyhood via Canopy, which is where I saw the movie. The end. Thank you so much. for viewing my presentation. I'm sorry for the message, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.